Hi, welcome to the Grief School. My name is Sharon Brubaker, and I'm your grief specialist. The Grief School, the place where healing begins. And when does that healing begin? It begins when you, the griever, start to do your needed work, when you start to go after the grief. Showing up and listening to this live is one of the ways that you're going after the grief. My goal here is to teach us the ins and outs, to teach us the definition of grief, for us to discuss the definition of grief, the little parts about the grief that nobody's talking about. First of all, let's be honest here. Grief is the biggest taboo subject in society. It used to be other things like teen pregnancy and sex and being attracted to someone of the same sex. But those things are out in the open now. And you know what's not out in the open is grief, because we still don't talk about it. So last week I talked about the purpose that being numb, the numbness serves in your body. So this is a 3-part series, and today we're talking about tears. Okay, what purpose do tears serve? Okay, here's the one thing that I want you guys to know. The most important thing. Crying, when we cry, does not equal grieving. Tears do not equal grieving. Why do I say that? And if you walk away with anything, this is the thing I want you to know. But let's talk about the natural expression of tears. The natural expression of tears is that tears are a natural expression of grief. There's a wide variety of how people grieve. We grieve when someone dies. We grieve when our feelings are hurt. We grieve when we're sad. Grief is an outward sign of inward emotions. So it's our outward of emotions. It's our outward sign of inward emotions. So tears do not, but tears do. Yes, so connect that. When we get sad, when we feel broken, when we feel happy, when we feel joy, when we feel pain, all of these emotions are felt in our heart, and the tears come out the front of our face. I'm reading from some notes, but I wanted to share this one other part with you. So why did I say that crying doesn't equal grieving? Because people come to me and they say, I've cried already. I cried for 3 weeks. I cried for 3 weeks straight. So a lot of people think we cry, it equals grieving, and when we're done crying, we should be over it. And that's not true. I also don't know how much crying you're going to do. How long are you going to cry? I don't know. Some of us don't cry at all. I am not a crier anymore. I've gone through the change of life, and the tears just don't come readily for me. They don't come like they used to. Look at this. I got my notes all jacked up. Okay, this is what I wanted to tell you. So, scientifically, tears release toxins. Crying is the body's way of releasing toxins. So tears release toxins. Tears equal the toxins in our body. That's just scientifically. Tears are also endorphins. They are endorphins. Right? They're endorphins that are released. Scientifically, that's what they tell us. We release toxins, we release endorphins. From a grief specialist perspective, we're releasing the emotions. We're allowing the emotions to come out. Okay? Tears also promote a social bond. So if I'm crying and you're crying, we both know we're on the same page and we hug each other and we love that. Oh, she gets me. She understands me. We understand that. Tears are also a sign of healing. Tears let me know that you are doing the action, which is going to lead to healing. So if you cry, you're doing an action step, which is going to lead to your healing. Tears, scientifically, are toxins and endorphins. They are not grieving. They are a part of the grieving process for some people. They're not a part of the grieving process for everyone. Not everyone cries. When my dad died, my mom did not cry. She wasn't a big crier. She actually even said to me, people are going to judge me because I'm not crying. That's not true. We should not judge anyone if they are crying. Whether you cry or don't cry doesn't tell me if you're grieving or not. Tears are an outward sign of an inward emotion. These emotions are in our heart. We've got to release them, and so we cry. Tears are an action step. Period. That's it. This is tears. But yet we put so much weight on them. If the person is crying, we know that they're grieving. If we can't get them to stop crying, we figure that's a problem. If someone cries for 3 weeks and they never cry again, that's a problem. If my kids don't cry and I'm crying, that's a problem. It isn't. It isn't a way for me to judge. There are a lot of clients that I meet, and if you are one of them, one of the questions I asked you in our very first meeting is, are you crying? How often do you cry? Do you cry? Because you know what it shows me? One thing, this. It shows me whether you're allowing the pain to be there, whether this action step, whether you are allowing the pain to be there. That's it. That's all it shows me. It just tells me that, hey, she's willing to lean into the pain a little bit and allow the pain to be there. Grief tears can be a bit different because when someone dies, we feel like it's the worst emotion ever. We have to let it out, and we want a way to go through it, and we do it this way. We allow it out through our tears. Sometimes just having that good old cry will release the energy. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Sometimes just having that good old cry releases the energy, and the next day you actually get a little bit of a relief. You actually get a little bit of a relief. I'm going to use my same old photo to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Okay. We talk about this all the time. There's intellectual grief, which takes place in our brain. There is emotional grief, which takes place in our heart. For here, we might have a thought. We have a thought about our grief. And our thought is, he is never coming back. He is never coming back. I have that thought. I'm out dusting the living room, and all of a sudden, oh my God, he's never coming back. The minute you think this thought, he's never coming back, an emotion goes into this emotion box. Fear. I had a thought, he's never coming back, and then I have fear. The fear, the emotion scale, I'm making this part up so you guys can see. The emotion scale from a 1 to 10, I'm at a 9.5 on the emotion scale in the fear. This is exactly how it happens. This is exactly how it happens. Then, bless your little heart, tears start falling. You had a thought, he's never coming back. You instantly feel the fear. You're busy doing something. It grabs you by surprise. And then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, you're crying. Tears start to come out. You drop the dust rag. You fall to the floor. This is exactly what I hope happens. You fall to the floor and you just let the tears be. You start thinking other things. But more importantly, you start thinking about this fear, because now the fear is going to ebb and you're going to feel sad. You may even feel mad. You're probably going to feel broken. This thought is going to start leaning to other memories that you have of him, but you're still going to be crying. Here's what a lot of grievers tell me. If I start crying, I'm never going to stop. I don't believe that to be true. I believe that your body will not let you do that. I truly believe that your body and your brain is not going to let you cry for days on end. It will let you have a cry fest. It will absolutely let you have a cry fest. Here's the other thing. If you do not let this fear out, and it's going to come out in tears, if you don't let it out today, that is Monday, it'll be okay. All right. Okay, Sharon, you're right. You continue dusting. You don't pay attention. You got your rag and you continue dusting. Guess what's going to happen on Tuesday? It's coming back, but not at a 9.5, at an 11.5. It's off the Richter scale of grief. You cut it off. You don't let the tears come out. On Wednesday, it's coming back, but this time at a 13.5. The scale that this degree comes back at is going to be increased. Every time you don't let it out, it increases. Here's the other thing. This time when you let it out, you didn't let it out because you don't have time, because now on Wednesday you work part-time. You work part-time from 9 to 3, and then after 3 o'clock, you're going to the grocery store. You're in the grocery store, you're shopping, you're at a 13.5, the fear is still there, and you're still having this thought. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And my friend, all you had to do was cry to release the pressure. All you're doing with these tears is releasing the pressure of the grief. Releasing the outward sign of the inward emotion. You walk down the barbecue sauce aisle and you see, I don't know, I'm making this up, Jimmy Dean's barbecue sauce. That was his favorite barbecue sauce. So you run out of that aisle and you run to the next aisle. Now you see his favorite macaroni and cheese. Guess what, friend? You can't hold that 13.5 anymore. You cannot hold it. You leave the basket and you run out of the store. You run to the car. You can barely make it to the car. You can barely keep it together. And then you fall apart. You're banging on the steering wheel. You're mad. You're angry. You're having fear. And all you keep thinking is, he's not coming back. He's not coming back. All of this because on Monday, while you were dusting, you didn't cry. Tears serve a purpose. The purpose is to release the pressure. The purpose is to release the pressure of the grief. Now, does that mean you got to cry in the grocery store or beat your car? No, it doesn't mean that. It means you can allow them in when you're ready. You can allow the tears in when you're ready. All right. Once the tears start, you can take a couple of deep breaths. So you're right here. You're at Monday. You decided to let it in. Let the tears fall. And then when you're ready to stop, just take a couple of deep breaths. Take a couple of deep breaths. Inhale deeply. I'm ready to release. I'm ready to release. Make sure you're in a private space when you're crying. If you're around somebody you feel totally comfortable with crying, by all means, cry in front of them. If you're totally comfortable, then cry in front of them. Find a private space, if possible, where you can gather your thoughts, where you can release the the tears, the prayer, where you can release the tears, where you don't feel judged. You don't feel like people are looking at you. They're not telling you what to do, right? When you're ready to stop crying, take some deep breaths, breathe it in. If you go to the ugly cry and snot is running down your nose and your stomach hurts and you're like, it's okay. That tells me you went deep. That just tells me you went deep. If you're feeling like the tears are not stopping, if you're feeling like you did a couple of breaths and they're still not stopping, but you got to get going, I want you to stop counting backward from 100. But hear me out. I want you to go into your brain. You're going to leave your heart and the emotions. You're going to go into your brain and you're going to see the 100, 100, 99, and you're going to see the 99, 98. You can even say them out loud. 98, 97, 96, and just start counting. What is that doing? That's bringing your brain back to your present moment. You're using your brain to leave your heart and come back to your present moment. Continue the deep breathing. Drink some water. Make sure if you've had a good cry that you drink some water. Am I going to do this every single day? In the beginning, probably. Probably 3 or 4 times a day. Probably 5 times a day. Here's what I want you guys to know. The more you avoid, the more it's going to build up. Because you don't do this, this builds up. And it wants out. This is the brokenness in your heart. The brokenness wants out. It wants to get out. And it's going to come out this way. And all we did was relieve some pressure when we do that. If you don't, you're just cutting this off. That's it. It's simple. Grief is really not done at this exorbitant level. It's really done at a very simple level. And please forgive me for getting all of my notes mixed up. I didn't mean to do that. Your crying plays a vital role for you. It plays a vital role in navigating the grieving process. It is for you. The tears are for you. The tears provide a toxin relief, toxins release. It reduces your stress. It relieves toxins, as I said. But it serves it is an essential emotional release that happens in the heart. The tears also help us join together socially with brothers, sisters, husbands, wives. It helps us with all of that. Expressing our emotions, it helps us to strengthen our social bonds. I want to encourage you to embrace your tears. Do not resist the tears. Embracing your tears and having tears in grief is a natural part. It is a natural response of the grieving process. It's the action step that you're taking. Grief is action. Tears are one of the action steps, and it's going to get you towards the healing. It's going to contribute to the overall well-being of your grieving process. Friends, thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to share tears, how the whole process works, why it is important. If you didn't see numbness last week, please go back and take a look at that. Wednesday, I'm going to be teaching on talking. Why talking is so important in the grief. Why do we have to talk about the grief? Why do we have to share about the grief? Okay, my name is Sharon Brubaker, and I'm a grief specialist. I'm the owner of the Grief School, where you are today, the place where healing begins. I teach lessons on grief to help you understand what this grief process is and why it is so important for you, the griever, to start understanding the little idiosyncrasies in grief. You can find me live on TikTok 3 times a week. You can find me on the Instagram, and you can find me here on the Facebook. Also, follow my podcast, Healing Starts with the Heart. I've been recording the podcast since 2018. If you go back to the beginning, you'll find some amazing podcasts from Erica. Erica's my sister and myself or anyone in between. I actually listened to the podcast this week, which was Thoughts on Grief, and I was pretty good, other than I just kept hitting the mic. But go ahead and listen to some of the podcasts. It will help you as well. I put a lot of resources out for you. When you click the link below, there's also going to be the wait list for my book, Grieve That Shit, which will be coming out in April. Thank you, friends. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Bye.